on the con, Adam. The same bat time is always 5 minutes after 8 because I'm always late. I'd run back downstairs and grab another drink. So let's pop out the comments. So they're over on the other side. That'll work. Ron Clark, hello, sir. Missed you last weekend. All right, let's see. Brittany's here. Adam, I already addressed. Steve, hello, sir. Mike Fiore, it is riveting. TJ, hello, sir. Uncle Guns. Gabe. Jason McConnell. Mike. Jane Cobb. What a great name. What a great name. So tonight's live stream brought to you by the fine folks Rock God Brewing Company. Today we're having a whiter shade of pale ale, Belgian style pale ale, 5.5%. Good stuff. All right. Bunch of crap in my way. So, what do we got going on? Apparently, the wonderful governor of Pennsylvania is still a douchebag. Came up with a bunch of new rules today or something. Don't know. Oh, Jeff, there you are. I didn't even see you there till Brittany said hello. I may have met someone. I don't know. Bryant, hello, sir. So what is the, oh yes, the governor. That's the ticket. Giant douche nozzle. Apparently he wants to have some more rules and stuff. I don't know. He's pissed off because the last time he went all pure on us, some judge somewhere said, well, some of that shit you did was unconstitutional, fuckhead. And apparently now it's time for us to pay for questioning his authority. So paying is what he is about to make us do. Because check this out. You might not know this, but the governor of Pennsylvania has a personal protective detail. The personal protective detail is manned by the Pennsylvania State Police. The Pennsylvania State Police are with him a lot to make sure that no harm befalls him. That's a shame. But fact is, everything that he says is within earshot of them. And making the people of Pennsylvania pay is a quote from Tom Wolfe. So just throwing all that out there. Hello, everyone. Hello, Crystal, Michael. I guess that's everybody I think I've managed to say hello to. Fuck, there's 23 of you, according to the little Goobertron. I don't know, it wasn't even really doing anything for Thanksgiving. I think Benjamin's going to his mom's. So Jen and I will be here. I think Dawn might come over and her boyfriend, but otherwise gonna have a turkey breast and watch some TV. The Bud Dwyer challenge. All right. So yes, the some thoughts about things that Mr. Wolfe has said. When he said that he is afraid that the public will lose their vision of his authority with the release of a vaccine, I knew right then and there that lockdowns were coming. Oh, didn't you know he said that? You know, it's a strange thing about that personal protective detail. They hear everything. So yes, he is afraid that the people will not view him as having the same authority if there's a vaccine. Huh. And I'm trying to read comments here. Some are struggling with grammar. Ooh, steaks and burgers for Turkey Day. I like the way you're thinking. Yeah, I too am going to live my life in defiance of his orders. Because I just don't give a fuck what he has to say. All right. So yes, that's number 2 on my list. Lockdowns, they are a coming. I've had this list since Sunday. So today's little announcements and Philadelphia's announcement was it Monday. Not surprising because I've had my little note on this subject that we just talked about on that paper since Sunday. I almost had a live stream Monday because I thought it was worth talking about. But so my personal thoughts on his view of losing his perceived authority in light of a vaccine. He also, at this point, being assured that there is going to be a Kamala Harris administration come January, he feels that there are no repercussions for anything he chooses to do right now. So it's not like anybody will tell him what he did was wrong because he has the assurance that the new president Harris will have his ass covered in whatever he chooses to do. So fuck him. So, Midwest industry trigger drop safe feature on its description. I don't know how the drop safe is physically configured. I didn't really look inside the drop-in unit to even get an idea of, if it was much different than the other drop-in triggers. I just kind of threw it in there and started using it. But AR-15s in general are not drop safe because they have a free floating firing pin. I don't know that the trigger in a regular mil spec would be not drop safe. In my head, it's got if it slipped off, this connector should catch it. I'm pretty sure that a mil spec one is, but there might be other drop-in triggers that are not, and that might be why they felt the need to address that in the literature. Reliability of etch reticles and quality scopes are backup sites really needed. So usually when I see people need backup sites, it's a battery issue. So there's that. If it's not a battery powered scope, like with an etched reticle, I can't say that in the bazillion rounds I've seen fired in training that a mechanical problem needed the backup sites to be deployed. Usually it's an electronic problem. Now, like I got a 4-14 on the rifle behind me. It's got backups on it because it's a 308. There's 700 fucking blocks of pick rail, so it has room for them. My SBR, now that I have a 1-8 on it and I got a laser and shit up front, my backup iron sight is halfway back the rail and it's actually underneath the optic. So it can't flip up because the optic's in the way. So there, Since I have them, the quick release on the optic I consider mandatory. Although I'm not too concerned that even if the battery's dead, the etch reticle still works, and I think it would be fine without, I would feel safe not having them. However, there's no downside to having them. There was a downside to having it all the way at the front, so I just moved it to the spot where it would work. That's my thoughts on it. Hello, Mr. Barlow. I was concerned if you sent me any more signal messages. We were in the midst of a conversation. I would not be sending them back, and you would think I ignored you. And that's totally not the case. Good point, Eric. The auto sear makes it more safe, which should be our argument to have the NFA stricken down. Safety first. All right. So, you know what my first thing on my list was? This was from Friday. Made this note. That's why it's the top on the list. So the list normally doesn't go in order of importance. It goes in the order that I think of things to talk about. So how many folks out there, how many folks watch The Mandalorian? So if you do, the youngling, the child, baby Yoda, as everyone calls him, motherfucker will eat anything. Like, if it moves, he's gonna eat it. He likes protein, apparently. It hit me why Yoda went to Dagobah at the fall of the Empire. He wasn't hiding from the Emperor or from Vader. No, not really a spoiler, Crystal, because the little kid's been eating anything that moves for a while. He went to Dagobah because he's the apex predator of everything on that planet. It's a veritable smorgasbord every single day of his life. So yeah, Yoda went to Dagobah so he could eat like a king. That's my thought, because that species eats everything. It's probably why that... wasn't there a big creature in there with Luke's X-Wing? Maybe not. It might have been safe just because he was too large to eat. But yep, that was why Yoda went to Dagobah, so he could feast. All right. So we got that one out of the way. Right. Yes, Crystal, it spit out R2-D2. You are so correct. So that thing is probably the only thing safe just because Yoda can't eat it all in one sitting. Everything else, fair game. Oh, I got 2 pages of notes here, kind of. Oh. Oh, good question. How was Sun on my 2.19? So it is the 407K. K models fit the RMS footprint. And I've shot maybe 1,200 rounds out of that pistol with that dot on it. Dot's had absolutely no issues. The 407 has a 6 MOA dot, which is fine. But when you hold that thing out at arm's length, like the further away a dot is from your eye, the bigger it appears. So at arm's length, that dot's really big, super easy to find. But when you're trying to shoot like 6-inch steel plates at 75 yards, the dot obscures everything. So the 507 has a circle dot reticle that you can turn the circle and the dot on and off apparently. But the dot's only 2 MOA, and had I realized the size difference, I would have got the 507. I'd have paid the extra $100 to go from a 6 MOA dot to a 2 MOA dot. But other than that, it's working great. So the mechanic chick, that's Kaylee, Mr. Fiore. Did I miss a message from McConnell? Because his last comment doesn't make sense to me. So yes, Kaylee is rather attractive, although I still am a big fan of Inara. And actually, in a lot of TV shows, Summer Glau would be the hottest one, but not on that one. She's not even in the top 2. Ooh, Saffron. Yeah. He was pretty. If you like crazy redheads. Of course, I guess I don't have to add the word crazy if I say redhead. Like those words are synonymous. So yeah, there's my thoughts on etched reticles and hollow sun red dots. Wow. For once, I'm getting questions about stuff. Isn't just me rambling. The fuck's wrong with you people? I did get a question the other day that I'm going to mention later here in a moment. However, did you all realize that, especially if you're an alumni of Tremis Dynamics or someone on the inside, there is a in the dark land navigation study group this Saturday. There'll be no masks allowed. I had to get that off my list. Red dots and red heads. Ooh. So, cookies. Helmet issues. So like part of me says if I'm going to wear a pound of bump helmet, I should wear 2 pounds of ballistic helmet. And of all the helmets I've ever put on my head, the Cry airframe was more comfortable than any of the bump helmets. So if I was going to go with a helmet, that's what I would go with. The only downside is, so what the fuck do I do with the helmet when I ain't wearing the knots? Because I don't want to wear a helmet all day. So, and it's $1,000. I have a high cut, I guess it's like the ACH or something shell in my closet. I do not have the pads for it. I think I have the suspension somewhere. I just don't want to. I don't want to wear all that shit on my head. Hence the Cry cap. I can roll it up, put it in my pocket. There might have been. That does sound familiar. State park couple got lost and died. But hey, if we go to Centralia and we walk around the woods in the dark and we get lost and we die, I guess I don't have to look forward to the Harris administration. You always got to look at the bright side. It's a low of 39 degrees, Crystal, a high of 59. I don't know at like 6 o'clock in the evening where that will be. But it's not going to be warm, that's for sure. Oh, we ain't going anywhere near a lake. That's true. There's a pond. We're not going there. Yes, Jane Cobb. I go through Centralia about once or twice a week. It's on the range that I teach at. It's between me and the range, so I make frequent forays through it in a car, and I've spent some time there on foot doing land navigation stuff, and that's where we're going to be this weekend. I'm a big fan of the True North Concepts grip stop. like so. It gives you kind of that neutral grip in between rotating your hand out and the straight up and down. So kind of gives you the something to press back against without having to squeeze your hand. So and they have a shorter one, but I kind of like the longer one. It's like the right blend of something to push against without having to death grip the gun. I have them on every gun I own. And apparently they don't count as vertical foregrips on a pistol, if that matters to you. No significant disadvantage not having previous land nav stuff because we have people there with land nav skills. So if you're coming up, and you definitely should, we will just make sure that you get to walk around in the woods with someone who's not going to get lost, who can tell you, hey, this is how we're using the map and what we do to find a place and go over there. And so not only will you get the camaraderie, you'll get some coaching on a subject that you might not know so much about. And we've been doing it enough that there's plenty of folks that can, good mentors. Gun types I wouldn't keep loaded. Yes, absolutely. If a gun has not been zeroed or function checked, I don't keep it loaded. So if I see a gun without bullets in it, it tells me it's not ready to fight with. So don't grab that one. So like, for instance, if I put a new barrel on something, I don't know if it works until I get it to the range and fire it. Or if I change optics and I haven't zeroed the new optic, I don't put a magazine in it until I've taken it to the range and zeroed it. Once it has, I'm confident that it works and it's zeroed, a magazine goes in it, and I just leave it that way. Shotguns included. Oh my. Yes, the airsoft rifle on camera. Vortex. So they have a couple different levels. I'm not super familiar with like what they're called. I have a Vortex, like an old Vortex downstairs. It's like a Diamondback, I think it's called. Just got like a hunting reticle in it, and it's an like 1-inch scope ring. So I don't think they've done anything but 30 or 34 recently. And the thing still works wonderful. It's super accurate. Like, it's precise that it does what it says it's not supposed to do. I have used the Vortex warranty on 2 red dots, and they were both electronic issues, not mechanical issues. And they were both cheap. Like, they were the entry level, and they, no questions asked, said, I didn't buy either one. So I got them in horse trades and whatnot. And they were still like, not a problem. We'll just send you a new one. And they did on both accounts. One was a little pistol red dot and like an RMR style red dot. And the other one was the AR. It has like an integrated mount for running on an AR, and the battery goes in the mount. I can't remember what model it is. But yeah, they were super cool about taking care of them because they both had like intermittent LED issues. And the pistol red dot actually was dented, like the screen was dented, and they were just like, I would just give you a new one. So I seem to work really, really would love to try their 1 to 10. I'm just not, I don't want to pay that much money. I'm cheap, tactical cheapskate. If Scott Geisert's watching, hashtag tactical cheapskate. Sometimes I do carry a backup pistol, not often. There was a point where I was carrying two backups. A shield on my left hip, a shield on my left ankle, and an M&P on my right hip. And just wanted to carry less. UH1, that is a optic model, correct? Or are we talking a helicopter? But that is not the one I had. It was like the 5.56 AR or something like that. No, it's downstairs. So Oh yeah. Their warranty is good, and I'm not surprised that they, even though you ran it over. I do have a Vortex 8-power monocular. Love that thing. It's all like got milliradian reticle crossfinder or rangefinder stuff in it, and a simplified like shape of a human silhouette at different sizes for just ranging a human being. Uh, it's the solo. It's actually in my chest rig, like the fanny pack attached to the bottom. I keep that in there for looking at stuff because I have 8-power on my rifle, but you don't always want to point your rifle at everything you want to look at. And if you're trying to be a little more discreet, like picking a rifle up and aiming it around town, kind of says it gives a message. Doesn't necessarily give the message that I'm trying to put out there. Shove it between the seats. Absolutely. I think that there might be laws that say one thing or another thing. I just shove it between the seats. And then if I knock on wood, haven't been pulled over in a long time, like a really long time, but I've been in vehicles that have been pulled over when I was not driving. And I would always just take a hoodie or a jacket that's in the car for that purpose and throw it over top. Not because I was concerned about the law. I was concerned about the, brand new cop on the force who is going to panic because there's a rifle in the car. So force on force drills mandatory. Yes, they are mandatory. And Primary Arms has some awesome reticles. You are correct, Gabe. There's some of the more longer range scopes that basically everybody has ripped off Horus. They've strayed far enough away from the Horus reticle to not infringe on their copyright, but everybody has doing a grid of some type, including Vortex and Primary Arms both. It's amazing. Crystal mentions there she pulled over great times. Haha. She got pulled over in a spot that moments before I went through, going way over the speed limit. Nothing. She comes through and they're like, you're 3 miles an hour over, and they pull her over. So no suppressor option. I would put some type of flash hider on it. Vortex is the, or a Phantom or the old standbys, but any of the multi-pronged flash hiders will be great for actually keeping the flash down. I was going to say, Mike, I don't know if it was the VA plates, but isn't she a 2-plater? So they saw her coming. Damn 2-platers. Fucking front plates. Hello, Jim. I'm actually, part of me wants to say if you're a 2-plater, we should just stop you at the border and turn you around. But there's a couple 2-platers that I like, so I guess we'll keep them. So, yeah, it's over there. I ain't going to go get it now. I was asked a question over on my personal Facebook page the other day. And it all started with James Wesley Rawls. Now, if you don't know, he wrote a book called Patriots something or other bullshit. And it was this 1987 Cold War fantasy about some one moment event crashing everything, and how these people from all over the country would all drive to some remote location and they would live out their lives because they were prepared. Yes, Surviving the Coming Collapse. That sounds about right. He's written more after that, and I haven't read them. In fact, I found today, when looking for something entirely different, I found one of the sequels that I picked up at like for $1 at Ollie's, which is like a bargain place, out of print shit and stuff that they're trying to move. And I just hadn't read it. And I may have not read it because there's multiple books between the one I read, the first one, and this one. Or I may have just bought it for $1 thinking someday, maybe when I'm really needing something to read, I'll read it. So I haven't read that one. I've only read the first one. And I read it like the fucking year it came out. And I was talking to someone about what we thought of it. Is there another one other than those two? Survivors, Liberators? Maybe it was Survivors. I don't know. It's downstairs too. But like the first book, Patriots, I have it with the original cover. Like that hasn't had that cover in a while. But so talking to somebody, and they said, "Hey, what do you think of the book Patriots by Rawls?" And I said, "You know, it's a Cold War kind of thing." And my buddy says, "I think it's bullshit, like straight up fantasy bullshit." And I said, me too. But I didn't want to start like a fight with him, so I didn't like jump into trashing it like I do Unintended Consequences. But chit chat, blah 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 blah, and then I'm reading John Mosby's blog. So I bought John's book, like $70 fucking to buy a book. I should have just bought all three and saved on the shipping, but man, they're not cheap. So I'm over on his. I joined his Patreon page for $1, and see, I also support people on Patreon. Thank you for those that support me. But so I'm reading his thing, and like he didn't mention Rawls by name or anything. Like he didn't trash talk him, but he basically like chuckled at the premise of the book. And I was like, haha, so I am not the only one that thinks this. So I made a post, and somebody asked, and I don't even remember who, said, okay, like I respect that you have an opinion, but if that book's not what you're recommending, what books do you recommend? And I said, oh, I'm going to talk about that on the live stream. So I'm going to. Ooh, I might take the 92 Hilux. Not a fan of diesel, but that might be the way to go. The only reason I don't like diesel is because when my wife had a diesel car, I would stop at 5 or 6 exits in a row before I could put fucking fuel in it. JL Bourne, Tomorrow War. All right, before I go on, I'm going to write that down. It turns out I read a little bit faster than the average bear. So when I get a new book, I can usually jump on it pretty quick, even if I'm in the middle of another one. So yes, Crystal Gates of Fire, best book on mindset ever written. However, when I was asked about post-collapse things to read, I came up with a couple that aren't, and I don't necessarily know. I don't know. Well, yeah, I guess there's one that really is a post-collapse book, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The other ones don't necessarily have to be a post-collapse to be relevant, and some are relevant every day. So they're the books that you could read that would help you post-collapse that also would help you to this very day. Violence of Mind by Varg Freeborn. I think that is a fantastic book about putting your mind in the right place. What Everybody is Saying. Fellow by the last name Navarro. I can't remember his first name. It's about reading body language. And I'm willing to wager that almost every potential sketchy moment that you would have in a post-collapse scenario is going to involve another person. And reading their body language will go a long way into helping you survive, more so than knowing how to grow Brussels sprouts. John Mosby's book is next week's full. I'll give you a straight up review of it next week, but it is more of a manual, I'm going to say, with not great drawings in it. So, Violence of Mind, Varg, Freeborn, What Everybody is Saying, Somebody Navarro. Crystal, there with the links. I do not know if the Anarchist Cookbook is still available. I don't even know where my copy of it is. Mostly because I bought it when I was in the Navy in 90-something and don't know where it ended up. So 2 books that I think will be immensely useful as an actual reference for a time when in a post-collapse scenario would be When There Is No Doctor and When There Is No Dentist. Murray Dixon is the fellow's name. Now, if you bear with me for a moment, because it's out of frame. Somebody pirated me a digital copy of When There Is No Doctor. So when I worked at the college, I just printed out every page and made a paper copy, because When There Is No Doctor probably also means there's no way to read a fucking PDF either. So there are 2 versions, and it's updated very frequently. How to Deliver a Baby. So again, maybe having a baby in the post-apocalypse world isn't the smartest idea, but sometimes you start the post-apocalypse world pregnant. So like, that's good shit. When There Is No Doctor, When There Is No Dentist, How to Fix Yourself. And Crystal there with the fucking links. She's awesome. Now, what really got me thinking about the realities of a societal collapse. There is an article on the internet. I probably have the PDF and should at least link to who originally posted the PDF and not just put the PDF up, because, you know, people get a little weird and butthurt about that kind of stuff. But there's an article called Words from a Bosnian Survivalist. And it is an ugly, gritty article about a fellow who lived through the whole former Yugoslavia's collapse. And 95% sure who wrote that, although I don't think it's ever really been officially confirmed. But the fellow that wrote it went on to write some books as well. And his main course for books is Dark Secrets of SHTF. All right, Colt. Maybe in the apocalypse, so that you can probably find a large group of women who would like to procreate with you. So yes, Dark Secrets of SHTF. Selko Bergovic is the fella's name who wrote it. Selko Bergovic. That's with a C, not with a CH, like we would pronounce it. So he is Bosnian, and pretty sure he's the one that wrote that original interview, Words from a Bosnian Survivalist. It is on the Amazons. You can also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Selco has a website where you can buy all of his books on PDF for like $30. He's like got like 5 or 6 at this point. But as someone who actually lived through a societal collapse and what he witnessed, not a fantasy event where people theorize what it would be like if the Soviet Union caused our collapse. It is a whole different viewpoint than what you get from the typical American Cold War era. We are going to all go buy 308s. Everything's got to be a 308 battle rifle. I don't know what the fuck that's all about. It's a different look at collapse, and from someone who lived through it. And I think that's a much more beneficial set of words to put your eyes on than the typical book that you could buy out of like Shotgun News. Now, the only one I really liked out of the, I call them the Shotgun News style books, because that's where I saw them advertised, was Matt Bracken's books. Now, of course, those highly fictional as well. Not totally gear nerded out, but very well thought out in its plot, that it wasn't an event that caused the collapse. It was just the continuation and snowballing of things that the government already does. So that was at least a, plausible storyline. And so yeah, if you want to read something for fun that isn't completely outlandish, like most American post-apocalypse books are, Matt Bracken's the way to go. Like I love William Forston's writing as fictional writing, but 1 second after left a lot to be desired. And from a historian, I was like, man, you're being pretty loose with your prognosis of how things will go, given that the history of how things have gone before. But Forston's such a good writer that I read 1 second after anyway. So you should keep the AR out all the time, and it should have a fully loaded magazine, and the gun should be fully loaded as well. It doesn't do you any good to have to clickety clack and make a Magpul Dynamics video before you can make the loud noises. If you have really tiny children that are pre-age that you can teach them responsibility, then you might need to rethink their access to it. So that's on you to come up with a solution for that. I went with my children at the earliest age that they were teachable, that I taught them, and it never became an issue. Like, my oldest child's in her early 20s, my youngest is in his early teens, and there have been, loaded rifles everywhere in my house for a long time. So, Crystal, when there's doctor, your next link I'm tasking you with is Dark Secrets of Shtf by Selko Bergovich. That's Selco B. Oh, it's Begovic. Sorry, my handwriting, it looks like there's an R. Begovic. She'll be on top of it with the link. Simon, I'll say your name too. Simon. Well, you could hang around a better group of people. I tell you what, you come hang around me and my group of fellas and gals that we hang around together at study groups, and we will not be weird about a loaded rifle. We will be weird about empty rifles, though. Crystal, the name of the book is Dark Secrets of Shtf. I really recommend starting with the reading of the interview with what we're pretty sure is him. Words from a Bosnian survivalist. I don't have the PDF on this computer, but I do have it on my computer in my office. Yes, I heard you, Simon. Wait till he discovers the magic of reading. Well, I don't really have a get home bag per se. I have a bailout bag in the truck that's just there all the time. But if I travel a distance, I take my bug out bag and put it in my truck in case I have a long walk instead of a short walk to go home. Yeah, it's weird. Like, we don't even enforce people to bring a rifle, but all of a sudden they do. Yes, this is a hoodie. It is a tiger stripe hoodie from Tactical Distributors. Yeah, I think their logo is on the thing up there. It's pretty nice. Rat's Tourniquet, totally not my favorite. It will completely stop arterial blood flow. So I have Crystal found the PDF. That should be mandatory reading for everybody, everywhere, all the time. Like in the junior high school, that should be reading. Rat's Tourniquet. Now, apparently, they're a couple generations in. I haven't kept up to date with what the newest one is. The one that I have is older. And it says in the instructions, wrap 3 times around the appendage. Try to get them beside each other and not like overlap. Got it. It wouldn't wrap twice around my thigh. And like, I don't have the biggest fucking thighs in the world. And it was about this much too short to get 2 wraps. So it was just 1 wrap. I'm like, oh, well, 1 wrap, it doesn't do anything a piece of fucking paracord won't. It does more than paracord, but so apparently the new ones are a little longer. I don't know if they're still long enough to get 3 wraps as is recommended. And well, that's kind of a problem. If you say it works with 3, then I need it to be long enough to do 3. And they're really not that small. They're super pliable. But like if you look at like the soft TY, there's a method called flat packing it. And if you look at a soft TY flat packed, it's way smaller than a rat's in its giant ball. So if it's size, it is not the smallest. There are windlass tourniquets that are smaller. The TK4 is probably the smallest. So it doesn't not work. It just doesn't work as well as it should for the amount of space that it takes up. And you will never get a elastic style tourniquet as tight as a windlass style tourniquet. I don't care which elastic it is. There are multiples. I don't care which tourniquet or windlass style it is. There are multiples. The windlass will always get tighter because it's mechanical advantage. Except with the rads. Although, Crystal, I will say this. At 1 wrap, I should probably go back and do 1 wrap and throw a pulse ox onto like my big toe and see if it can pick up a pulse under 1 wrap, or just have somebody that's good at finding a pedal pulse or whatever check. I've had people tell me, it doesn't matter unless it's Doppler. Motherfucker, I'm not spending fucking 10 grand on a Doppler fucking machine just to say it's a 0.25% more accurate than a pulse ox at $12. So that was my list of books. For straight up, I had a pulse ox. It died getting covered in sex lube. For straight up post-apocalypse books to read, Dark Secrets of Shtf after reading Words from a Bosnian Survivalist. reference books, When There's No Doctor, When There's No Dentist, and Violence of Mind, What Everybody Is Saying are just good things to read all the time. And I think they will be plenty applicable post-collapse. Obviously, I've read a few more books than that, but that's my list that you all should go out and read. And literally, like when you read the PDF that Crystal put the link to, Words from a Bosnian Survivalist, if you still have any delusions of romanticism about post-collapse society, then you've got some serious issues going on inside your head. Because, yeah, like when I was in the 7th grade, you know, I pictured it probably like most teenage boys do, you know, where you and your buddies will, you know, have a raiding party and you'll go do Mad Max shit. But, man, after reading a firsthand account of someone who lived through it, all that goes away. Like there's no part of it that's good. It goes from that sounds amazing to I don't want any part of that ever. All from one interview. So there's that. I hit everything on my list. And I still have beer left. Just a little. All right. I'll make sure I roll back up here. I didn't miss anything. And my wonderful, lovely assistant has been on top of the links. She is, damn it. Next time before we do this, I should probably do like Amazon Associates link so I can kick back if people click it and then it saves a cookie and they buy it or whatever. Yes, I probably will not. Well, there'll probably be little walled cities, but I doubt the postal worker will be the one and to work his way into people's hearts. Just a hunch. My preferred tourniquet is Recon. I've never even seen the 4th generation one, so TG, I totally have a Amazon Associates account. I just haven't linked books. I will. But all right, there are comments. I'm getting there. Preferred tourniquet is the Recon. And this is why, like straight up, I don't care about TCCC certification. Don't even get me started on those guys. But the Recon is obviously a windlass tourniquet. It is physically stronger than a cat, and the cat is like the gold standard of tourniquets, and it's half the cost. So I'm a big fan. You can get you can buy a training tourniquet and a regular tourniquet for the price of a cat. And I got cats, and I got practice cats that are blue that I spent $32 on. I can for $15 get a Recon. I can get a blue one to practice with and a black one from a kit and call it good. So it is not weaker than a cat. It's the same design as a cat, and it's half the price of a cat. So I'm all for the Recon. So, Jeff, now that you mention it, yes, I'm going to be adding a preferred reading list. And maybe I will start doing, I'll put up a big chunk of them, because I've read a lot. And then I will maybe add a new one every week, and it'll be like the book of the week that I added to my list. I might have to buy a new book every week and read it so that I have one to add to the list. You might be onto something here. I could read an extra book every week for the list so that I'm not even cutting out on the books I already want to read. It's like a win-win. I can hear Calvin's voice in my head saying, Mr. Garry, why don't you just read another book? Okay, so I will. TJ did not even measure the difference in the windlass lengths between a cat and a Recon. I will, probably not tonight, but tomorrow when I'm digging through stuff, I will pull out some new in the wrapper tourniquets. Oh, big tourniquet news. Big tourniquet news. I'm glad you guys brought it up. We started talking about rats, or not rats, recons. I found my original recon tourniquet that Jerry Nuss gave me years ago. And the one that's been applied like 400 times at full strength, covered in sex lube and gun lube and diesel and all kinds of shit. I don't know what's growing on it. I found it in a plastic bag wrapped up in a cabinet. Apparently it was covered in something, and I brought it home from a class or a study group, and I threw it in like a shopping bag so that it wouldn't get shit everywhere. And somehow it ended up stuffed in a corner. Technically, Jen found it and was like, "Oh, look, here's this tourniquet." And so it is coming back into action to be used some more until we can make it fucking break. And it literally is multiple hundreds of full force applications. In fact, I think I got it on my first anniversary. So 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, 5.56. Home defense, shit hits the fan. It's set up for night vision. I live in town, so the extra distance of the 308 is not going to help me nearly as much as having a shorter suppressed rifle will help me. But I am currently setting up an Everly stock pack for long range ishness so that I can put the 308 in it, 308 ammo in it, and have like a grab and go long gun, like a secondary being a longer distance. And it's just not all put together yet, but it will be, because I got some 308 rounds that I want to put in the gun. I'll feel even more confident in running that 308 once I have this ammo that's not yet released. That's as much as I'm going to say. You all can put 2 and 2 together, figure out what that's going to be. KCB 829. I'm running a PVS 14. Left eye. Well, I mean, like ballistically, it's better from the get-go. But where I'd be willing to trade off the weight and bulk of the rifle, past 400 yards, I'd be willing to then start running a 308. 5.56, even with my 10.3 inch barrel. I'm at 400 yards, not an issue whatsoever. We were trying to prove a point a couple years back, and I was running just the MRO on top of my 5.6 gun, and we were shooting the bright green softball at 350 yards, like hit after hit. So I wasn't too concerned about the accuracy at distance, even like non-magnified. We could barely see it was with the lime green softball. But there comes a point when past 400 yards, I'm going to want magnification so I can see things. And certainly from 400 out, the magnified and better ballistics of that 308 will be better for me. Oh, listen to you guys put all your brain cells together and come up with some ideas for some 308. So I have recently talked to Mr. Pie, since that's what you guys are thinking, about a number of things, and I gave him the update that the solid copper shootout was finished, and it is finished. And today I finally sat down and filmed the talking part. So I got to take a couple pictures and do some video editing, and you all will get the results. Patrons will get the results this week, probably sometime tomorrow. And the rest of you all will get them next week. But there are 4 of the 9 that I tried that I would tell you if you had them in your gun, you're going to do great. So I know everyone in the shootout wants to know who won. Fact is, most of them, if you're using them, you win. Yes, the 308 does make a fucking mincemeat of cars. Willie, I can't comment on what an all-solid copper 308 bullet would look like. AK over an AR domestically. Yes, if I had AK ammo and no AR ammo. That would be that. Adam, I would love for him to make some 5.45 solid copper. And this is what he says. Well, there isn't as big of a following for 5.45. I said, yeah, because you don't fucking make ammo for it. And I tried to throw it on him that it's his fault that there's nobody wants to buy a bunch of 5.45. So I don't know if it'll help, but I'm trying. Brittany, I'm not saying you should buy a 308. Two reasons. One, I don't think that you necessarily need a 308. And two, you buy everything that I say you might need. And I need to ease off on that and not run you into debt. And Crystal will tell you, she fired a 308 at Team Dynamics, and she was not thrilled with the idea of carrying that fucking thing around all day. Jason, I'm with you. 5.45 TCX, I'd be all over it. Pete, if you're watching the live stream, I've got four 5.45 TCX customers watching right now. All right. So I gave you my list. I got a book to buy. Born, that's a U, not a V. JL Born tomorrow. And I need to do a Amazon book list. Book the week. All right. 60 cents for 9mm is what I'm seeing it go for between 60 and 80 cents. So at the moment, 60 cents, yes, it's not out of line with what I'm seeing everywhere. It's not what I want to pay for it. It might not be what I'm willing to pay for it, but between 308 bolt gun and the AR-10. So in theory, the bolt gun should be more accurate. More precise, whatever word you want to use. However, I was at a long range class when I worked for Rockwell, and we had a student who had never shot long range before in his life. He brought a Daniel Defense 308 with a Night Force scope on it, and on the third day of class, at the final exercise, he made a first round hit at 1,475 yards with a Daniel Defense 308. I'm great with a gas gun. Like, I am 100% on board with it. So that's my thoughts on that. Good deal, Britt. All right. So with all that, I am 5 minutes past my 1 hour allotted time. Sometimes they're even shorter than that. I am going to go piss off for a bit. I've got some work cut out for me tomorrow. If you're come to the Night Land Nav, shoot me a message if you already don't have that info. For those inside my inner circle, I'm putting that info out tomorrow. But if you're an outsider, make sure that I get you the when and where we're meeting, because it's in the dark, so don't show up at noon. And it's certainly not going to be at LCPCPC. 20 round mag pools are what I use, Mike, for 308 mags. The Lancers are $8,000, and the only ones I've run have run great. But Steve Furman, he will say Magpool. He did. So with that, I am going to get on out of here. Pop smoke, call for extract, whatever we're calling it. You all have a wonderful evening. I'll see you next Tuesday. Hopefully I'll see some of you Saturday evening when we meet in Centralia. So with that, Toodles to you all and take it easy.